Okay. Warming up. Mic test. Okay, I think that's moving. If you are watching this at a future point in time, this is a recorded live stream, so the show is actually starting in a few minutes. Feel free to jump forward or watch us babble as we manually reshare our link.
Yes, this is like the kind of chatter you need to do if you ever worked in a call center job. Like while you're doing stuff, you're going to be typing and all these things. So yeah, busy week as always. So yeah, dinner is late for us, but we are glad for anyone who can join today. And get the link and tweeting.
Mhm.
I haven't been to the YouTube studio to get the link.
Links, feeds are running,
If not immediately apparent, we use Restream to
and
broadcast simultaneously to Facebook and YouTube.
invites are not yet sent out. Timer is getting ready.
I feel like I have to rewatch Hudson Hawk just for the thrill of things. Hope everyone's had a good week so far. We're well past the halfway mark. But yeah, should be cool.
Okay. Reshare successful with most of the areas. Oddly, I don't have them there. Notification timing.
Huzzah!
So now I can approve it. And okay, we are running.
Yep. So yeah, apparently yesterday was Hobbit Day, which is the impetus for today's episode. And we'll explain exactly what this geeky holiday is once we formally start the show. Okay, I'm gonna switch glasses.
So that's my having dinner watching TV glasses.
See, it's like you're Mr. Rogers with glasses. It's a good
So
feeling,
it's like
a very good feeling, a feeling you know when I'll be back. The day's new, and I'll have more ideas for you, and we'll have things you want to talk about, just like you. Okay, I got that wrong. Okay, yeah, we will start. We're gonna roll credits, and yeah, then we can start with the episode proper.
Oh yeah! Really great!
this is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy, a little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
It is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. This Thursday, we talk about different fandoms, and this Thursday, we are talking about the Lord of the Rings. I'm not sure if I should say franchise
I think we can say
or
franchise.
should we say intellectual property? Because franchise implies it's the movies.
No, but then franchise is everything.
Does it?
In my head, it's everything.
Then we'll trust Rocky's head.
We'll talk about the Tolkien estate. No, I don't know. So that's a shame though that the Lord of the Rings branding is the
Yeah,
lower
I know.
one, and then Trivial Pursuit is more prominent. Today we're talking about Trivial Pursuit. Do you still play this game? Okay. All right. So apparently September 22 is Hobbit Day. You see, so yesterday is referenced as the birthday of the protagonist hobbits Bilbo and Frodo Baggins. That they share the same holiday, although like a significant distance of time between the two. So the American Tolkien Society first proclaimed Hobbit Day and Tolkien Week way back in 1978. So geeks have been declaring holidays all on their own for quite some time. And yeah, so and how would you celebrate it? Large party, food, fireworks, dancing, much merriment, all these things. So we didn't necessarily have a Hobbit Day party because it was the middle of the week and we're still in the middle of a global pandemic. But at the very least, we can talk about the Lord of the Rings. What's wrong?
It's gone.
What?
The precious. Oh no, there. It's inside the bag. That is a very meta moment.
Could not find your ring of power? Dearly concerning. Okay.
So interestingly, while we are fans of the books and the movies, and we'll get to that in detail, as for those who follow the show, and probably as you've noticed in the background, we also love games. But this is the only Lord of the Rings game we own.
Yeah. Well, we own, but it's not the only one we played.
That's
Funnily enough, we have played at least twice the classic Lord of the Rings game because I think was it Teddy who owned a copy and would bring it to play. Um, and that was a difficult game. That was not easy to play. So yeah, tricky stuff.
So as it is in our show, we usually start with a little help for those who might not know what we're talking about. Rocky, what is Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, it's a thing, but I think you have a definition.
I have the Wikipedia page open just in case. So, Lord of the Rings is an epic fantasy novel.
High fantasy.
I'm sorry, well, high fantasy novel.
There's a
This is talking
distinction.
about this. This is also talking about the first book.
This is the well, it's the whole yeah okay. It's
See?
the main book.
By author and scholar J.R.R. Tolkien. Set in Middle Earth, a place like Earth at a distant time in the past. The story began as a sequel to Tolkien's 1937 children's book, The Hobbit, but eventually developed into a much larger work. Written in stages between 1937 and 1949, The Lord of the Rings is one of the best selling books ever written, with over 150 million copies sold.
Okay, so segue. And I think I don't know if this is true for you, but for me, surprising, which may surprise people, despite my being such an avid reader, I saw the first movie first before reading the book. Like it was not a book that I read on my own
Mhm.
for one reason or another, and I don't have a firm explanation why. It's just one of those things, and it's funny because I'm a Dune person, and Dune is always it's the was just the early comparisons that people that tend to come up a lot when you talk about Dune is that it's the science fiction version of the Lord of the Rings.
Because Lord of the Rings as a novel was very dry, very meandering, very
Wow, such a
dense.
harsh statement.
No, because they'd be talking about this, and then suddenly they're talking about the history of that object and why it's important, and then there's a footnote that even expands on why this and that, and you're like, wait, I just want to find out, do they run away?
But
And
I have to admit, Dune does the same thing.
exactly,
Dune has a glossary and appendices at the end,
so they have
not full footnotes though.
they have that same
that structure.
heaviness.
Yeah. And then I guess also because I've always been more of a science fiction person than a fantasy person, and whether or not you want to consider this a travesty, many people gasp when I always say this, but it's like um, my first fantasy series that I ever read was actually Shannara by Terry Brooks, which many complain to be a blatant Tolkien ripoff.
Well, at least it's still how do we put this? Mine was the Dragonlance Saga,
Mm,
and then you have the Dragon Riders of Fern.
which is okay. Dragon Rider is legit, and I still
But
haven't read Dragon Riders.
but I really enjoyed more the different sound novel.
Yeah. This is a conversation for another day. It explains many things, and I also got into Xanth very late.
Oh, we said the name. He now knows we're talking about him. Going back to the topic of this show, however, for those who are unfamiliar, as rare as the people out there may be who have actually clicked this video, because why would you click this if you don't know what we're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, yeah.
The story refers to the story's main antagonist. The title refers to the story's main antagonist, the Dark Lord Sauron, who in an earlier age created the One Ring to rule all the other rings of power.
Okay,
I love that moment in the movie.
yeah, we're gonna nerd out first. So yeah, in the when you first watch the very first, the Fellowship of the Ring,
Yes.
and you have the eerie prologue,
Yes.
which was like a very quick recap of the events of the Hobbit.
Yes.
Um, then you go over and I'm sorry, I'm gonna read it because I don't want to screw it up. The Rhyme of the Rings, which is 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. In the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. Such a good piece.
That's such an
And
awesome
it
way to
wasn't
start off the story.
and the movie didn't even like recite the rhyme, but it showed the ring bearers. It showed the elven
It
rings.
did. It
It
did.
showed the
It did
mortal
show.
kings.
It did recite the rhyme in verbatim.
Yes,
But
but
it
it
did.
went through the steps in the same sequence. So it was a great,
Mm.
great piece of homage work there. Okay. So
Um,
in terms of the core trilogy, which I think is the reasonable expectation now that if you're going if when someone has said they have read the Lord of the Rings, but very likely they are only referring to having read this particular trilogy, which is the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and the Return of the King, which is exactly the name of the movies as they were released by Peter Jackson. But these are not the only books in this entire
mhm.
series. Like mentioned earlier, there was a what is now known as a prequel, but it still surprises me that it was written first, which is
Yeah.
The Hobbit. Although I get it. So so after watching Fellowship of the Ring, got super excited. And and like many people who watch something get excited,
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm gonna read the books, I'm gonna read the books, and I'm gonna read them in chronological order. So of course I start with The Hobbit. And then I'm like, what is this crap? Because The Hobbit is written as a children's
Mm.
story, and then it's so tonally different. And like if you watched after watching just Fellowship of the Ring and you go back to The Hobbit, it's very confusing. And
Very
it's
jarring.
very jarring. Yeah. What was your exposure to the books? Like when did you in the context of the movies, when did you get to read the books?
So my first attempt to read the books did not go well.
Mm, okay.
So as mentioned, I was much more of the lighter fare when it came to reading
Hey, reading is reading.
the heavier books, and I really use heavy with a lot of
Quotation mark
yeah. The heavier books for me were the Dragonlance Saga books,
versus
Fierce Anthony and the like, right?
okay, okay,
So there's
okay.
there's very light, funny, fun fantasy books that I was indulging in. And then when I was reading Dragonlance, it kind of wanted to do a serious fantasy thing with sacrifice
Because there's
and
like
murder.
there's a
Yeah,
whole
the
chronology.
different seasons, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But let's just face it, Dragonlance and Lord of the Rings. That's like talking about um, 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 class on theater and calculus, right? The terms of density of information is just really different. But it gets worse.
I love this analogy.
The first one I tried to read was the Silmarillion
The Silmarillion. Oh my god.
by mistake
I have not read that one.
because my grandparents. So the house in Pasay, there was the staircase that leads to the rooms upstairs.
Hmm.
But in that alcove, which is like this little tower,
Okay,
it's
cool.
like ground level, small stairs, that alcove, and then the stairs to the upper levels of the rooms. But that alcove, the walls were like shelves,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
there were lots of books, lots of them interesting, lots of them dusty. And then I see it, and I'm like, hmm, hmm, not getting this. So I gave up. And
Okay.
it wasn't until much later that I started reading the novels again. And as odd as it sounds, I like Tom Bombadil.
See, I haven't. The well, that aside bit, like, yeah, I don't share this. I don't share this sentiment with you.
I know a lot of people who hate him and who are very happy he's not in the movie.
Mm.
But I enjoyed that character. He was like, um, you weren't sure if he was more powerful than everyone else. He didn't seem to care about the race,
Yeah, he's like in this one. La, 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 la.
and he was singing the whole time.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's where it was. But that was before I saw the movie.
Okay.
And when
Well,
I
kudos to you. Well, to be fair, I think I tried to read The Hobbit like
mm,
right before the movie because of
mm,
course it's like, oh my god, the Lord of the Rings coming out. I guess I should try to read it. And then the first time I struggled,
mm,
and I didn't finish it. It was only after I think what happened is I tried to read The Hobbit. We watched the first movie, and I got frustrated. And then after the first movie, I think I started reading the Lord of the
mm,
Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring. So I followed the movie, and then I finished the trilogy even before getting to the Two Towers. Well,
mm,
when the Two Towers came out the next year. Um, and then I finally went back to the Hobbit. I'm like, okay, then I think I can
mm.
better appreciate this. But it was still a struggle.
I was annoyed he wasn't in the movie.
Mm.
But
So
then
apparently, Toby is a Tom Bombadil apologist. I have just discovered something new again about my life partner. Should I be concerned?
and then when the director's cut stuff started coming out, I'm like, he's here, he's here, he's here. No.
No. No Tom Bombadil for you. Okay, so given that, then
Hello, Bacon.
okay, and then and
Feel free to comment, by the way, to any viewers who are
yeah,
new. If you are here during the live stream, comment away and we'll incorporate your comments into our show.
I see Clea's in Facebook, and then
Uh,
it says enjoyed the first parts of the Silmarillion. Actually, a lot of my Tolkien loving friends always tell me, "Oh my God, you have to read the Silmarillion," and then and I know like it's like I own copies of this
mm,
book, both physical and digital. I will get around to it, but I'm not in a rush because again, fantasy is still not my first love.
mm,
I'm reading a lot of science fiction these days, and then I think I will dedicate time to it. Right now, I'm still in my um I'm reading efficiently and not strictly for pleasure. So I'm picking distinctly lighter books that I can tick off my list very
mm.
quickly. And then once I hit my 365 books for the year, then I tend to slow down and then I do more passion project reading.
You heard that right? Rocky reads 365 books a year.
That's the minimum. Okay. In the recent last year was bad. I hit exactly
Not
365,
not not
366.
365 short stories. 365 books.
It's a thing. Okay. And then but that includes the equivalent of comic book trade paperbacks. So
Not just comic books. Trade paperback.
find it's a fair comparison, diba? So I can't compare reading a novel to just reading an issue. So at least in with trades, it's at least 5 to 6
Mm.
issues per volume. Although sometimes I make the mistake and I pick up an omnibus, and then oh no, this is like 10 to 12. Then it's like really long.
Clea shares
Love
loves
creation
creation
myth.
myths, and it's basically Tolkien's version.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that primer. Like I have no idea. I had like and like the screenshot I used for promoting today's episode. Not yeah, it's a screenshot. It is a screenshot of a part of my Kindle library where you can see that I have the one volume edition of Lord of the Rings. I have The Hobbit, The Fall of Gondolin, The Book of Lost Tales, The Silmarillion, and The Children of Hurin, and I don't know what these things are. Until now, I still haven't gotten around to reading them. So sorry.
Just dramatically appropriate.
It's just Trivial Pursuit, though.
Yeah.
It's like buying a Monopoly that's themed, and I think we had a Lord of the Rings Monopoly around that time. Merchandise is crazy. Okay, so um, was correct me if I'm wrong. Was the Lord of the Rings one of the first big franchises that was like that became a Christmas habit?
Mm.
Was it the first of the Christmas Habit movie? Because if Harry Potter, of course, stuck. Which is you remember it longer because it took us what 8 years, 8 9 years to get through the 8 movies. But for the was I feel like the Lord of the Rings was the first because I distinctly remember. Oh man, and then it's like this is like Matrix era also
Mhm.
because it's like I remember watching it at Glorietta 4,
Mhm.
and then it was a super packed theater the first time when we watched the Fellowship of the Ring. Um, and but then yeah, it's like I think I got chills in that opening, which wasn't it was it Kate Blanchett as Galadriel
Yes.
reading the opening,
Yes.
doing the opening voiceover.
Yes.
Um, and then it's like, oh my god, I really have to give this thing a chance. I still think hobbits are kind of stupid as a concept, but um, I had to give this a chance. So that's how I felt coming away from this. Okay, should I get my one ring? I forgot I have a one ring. Oh my god, my mom got me a one ring for
So we
Christmas.
have this gift. We have this, which was a gift.
Yes.
This was a gift to us. Metal
Oh really?
figures.
They're paper things.
You have these plastic pegs that you use to trap because basically you're answering questions. We'll try some of the questions later. We probably won't be good at it.
We're not the biggest Tolkien
Um,
fans.
but in
I
terms of
will
your
concede.
question of whether Lord of the Rings became a Christmas thing, for many of our geek friends, it was one of the Christmas things.
Okay,
Because we
yeah.
have to accept the fact that for geeky circles, Die Hard still tends to be the Christmas movie.
Okay, but I'm talking about like because they premiered
Ah, when they
in
were showing.
Christmas. Yeah, when they came out. Although then we'll talk about the Christmas Habit separately because
Mhm.
that's also a thing. That's also
Mhm.
a thing.
And then in the Philippines, we have the Metro Manila Film Fest that tends to shut down the theater industry around
Okay,
Christmas
shut down
for
foreign
only
movies.
for only local. It only becomes local movies alone. But Lord of the Rings kind of found ways around that,
No, they would
thanks
premiere right
to
before. This
and
was
and no, they also found ways around it thanks to they were the only IMAX movie that would be coming out.
no, I don't think IMAX was that big yet. This is super
Oh yeah,
early.
you're right.
You're
Sorry.
mixing it up
Yeah,
with
I'm
the
mixing it with that. I'm
later
mixing it with the
franchise.
Hobbit.
Okay, so
Sorry.
no, it was not. It was it. It
Yes, yes,
so
yes.
it was such a rush because
Star Wars was IMAX.
it would premiere in December in like the week right before Christmas, and then you would have to catch it in theaters
Before the
before the
Christmas.
film fest takes over,
Or you'd be the one in the Christmas party where everyone's talking about it and you haven't seen
and you have to wait until January until you can see it. And then that still was a challenge for different foreign movies that debut at the end of the year.
it.
Hello, Mitch.
Mitch says, hello, Clea adds, Philippine version of Lord of the Rings was Encantadia. In many ways, and as much as that is joke, in many
In
ways
terms
it
of
was.
structure, yeah, it was
Um,
trying to capitalize on the
they
same love
tried
for
to tell the
fantasy.
same stories. They tried to tell this
Well,
similar
yeah,
similar themes and motifs. Um, emphasis on the word tried. But it wasn't necessarily bad given their access to yeah. So focusing on the topic
on
at
a
hand.
TV budget, it worked. Okay, so yeah, so the movies. I think after the first Lord of the Rings movie, super fanatic crazy. And so for the Two Towers, I was lucky enough. A friend was able to help us get tickets to a premiere.
Hmm.
And then I think it was Glorietta again because I distinctly remember being on the right side of the theater.
Hmm.
And this time, when I watched the Two Towers, I'm like, I've read the books.
Hmm.
I feel better. And this has started this started a particular impetus for me to like, okay, if I really want to get into this, I want to read the book before it comes out. But but to be fair, experiencing the Fellowship of the Ring as a movie without knowledge of the books was still wonderful.
Hmm.
It's a wonderful experience, and then going back to the books, it was fulfilling because like things like when I first watched the Dune movie, or even when I first watched Jurassic Park in '93, and I was in grade school, I had already read the book, and so it was like, oh, that's wrong.
Oh wow, okay, my nose is reacting to the dust.
Yeah.
Sorry
Okay,
about that.
so yeah, so it was a magical time, and I think what sort of really uh, became I think the Two Towers is still like my favorite
Hmm.
chapter in the whole thing because I think I love the Ents. I really really love the Ents. I love the Ents. I love the and then the battles in the second movie are awesome. the whole side trip in Rohan was weird. I mean, like it's weird in the books, it's weird in the movie, but it
Mm.
still works out. And then, oh my God, John Noble, uh, who later on becomes Fringe guy. Uh, but yeah, so it was fulfilling. And then I think by the end, when Return of the King came out, I think we were just like, I think we are just blown away in the sense that I can't believe this movie franchise ever
Mm.
happened. I can't believe we had a major piece of genre fiction, a high fantasy novel
That
series
was done so well.
done so well.
That was casted so beautifully. That didn't change too much.
Yeah,
Because there were changes.
there was a significant effort to get most of it in, and then and by at that point, most adaptations were notorious for being only adaptations in name,
Mhm.
or like super unrecognizable because the budget didn't support it, the special effects didn't support it.
Mm.
The Lord of the Rings was just, oh my God, it was a movie. It was a movie milestone, and then it was such a pittance in the sense that the first two movies didn't really get a lot of awards
Mm.
in the movie circuit. And then it was only with Return of the King that, oh, fine, we'll give you something because you finished your epic franchise.
So let's talk about the movie, and to help make it more fun for everyone watching as well, we'll ask a question from this box, and we'll expect the viewers to type in their answers.
Wow. Can you play Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit? Side note, in terms of franchise games that came out, there was a Harry Potter trivia game that came out shortly after the first movie. And my parents thought they were being cool by getting us a copy of this board
Mhm.
game. And then like, okay, let's play. And then the questions were like what was the color of their shoes or something. It was like super obscure stuff. And then like that set my expectations for any franchise related trivia game.
Okay, so the question is, how tall is the shortest ant? 10 feet, 12 feet, or 14 feet?
So ants are the tree people, in case you don't remember. So how tall is the shortest tree person?
Yes.
Tree
So
bear.
while we're letting people type in their answers,
So Mitch
let's-
chimes in. Oh, sorry, just quick on the comments. So sorry, Mitch chimes in that the Battle of Helm's Deep was awesome and emotional. Yes, it's my super favorite battle. And then apparently it is also clearly what Terry Brooks ripped off
Mhm.
for his second book of the Shannara series. And um, then Clea Torres mentions that has not actually read the Lord of the Rings books because of it. They're difficult to read. Yeah, they're challenging, and they're also a product of their time. The language feels a little archaic versus like conventional speech and writing.
So
Okay.
repeating the question again for Mitch,
Okay.
how tall is the shortest ant? Is that 10 feet,
10
12
feet,
feet, or 14 feet?
10, 12, or 14 feet tall.
Hmm. So while we're waiting for people to send in the answers,
Imperial measurement.
let's talk about the ants. So the
Let's
ants,
talk about the ants.
so the ants in the movie, um, brilliantly done,
Yes.
beautiful visual. Um, they didn't, um, they didn't just go with a guy in a suit, and at the same time, the way they decided to approach how, since trees like see the passage of time so easily, then they also discuss things in a certain way. They also
Very
move things in a
slow.
certain way. Um, but then at the same time, when you finally have the Ents go into war, man, to see that scene.
Okay, okay. And then I bet because it happens in the theater and it happens every now and then when I introduce new people to the movie that there is a moment in the fight scene where is that there's that one ant in the background who's on fire
And then he rushes
who
to the
rushes
river.
and douses himself. You always hear people cheering because it's like, hey, that little tree made it.
Um, of course, my sadness is when the Ent appears. That's when Tom Bombadil was supposed to appear.
Okay.
Because Tom Bombadil was supposed
Is this
to save
going
them.
to be the theme of this episode where we're going to talk about different aspects of the franchise only to link back to how
No!
Tom Bombadil
It's
should
all
have been involved?
it's just because it's the first question. So no one has given their answer.
Mitch said 10 feet.
So Mitch says 10.
That's it.
Clea, do you have a guess if it's 10, 12, or 14?
Clea shares that knows the height of Galadriel. This is not the question
And
yet.
Galadriel currently has the ring. Okay, I got it. So Galadriel's Clea, Rocky is Gandalf,
So
uh,
it is Galadriel. Okay.
Mitch will be Aragorn, and I will be the Hobbit. Right? So whoever gets it right will get the ring.
Okay, Clea says 14.
So Clea's 14, Mitch is 10, Rocky.
Well, para may iba, I'll be 12.
Okay, I shall say 10. And the answer is 14.
Wow.
Oops.
Okay.
Clea gets that point.
Clea has the ring.
So yeah, so the answer is such well done. And then um,
And then even just the way they walk.
mhm,
And then
with those long
I
strides.
super got chills when the Ents go to war. And then they're marching through
With their song.
yes.
Of course, they have a song. Why not have a song when you go to battle and your trees, right?
Okay, but we have to segue to the fact that okay, there is a lot of music
Mm.
in the Lord of the Rings as a whole. More the books than the original theatrical release of the movies. I cannot remember. Like I know the some of the director's cuts brought in some of the
Mm.
the quote unquote missing songs from the book, but what I don't know. I can't explain why Tolkien had this thing for like let's add music to our big epic.
So the next question is,
Okay,
what color horse does Gandalf ride to Isengard when he seeks Saruman's aid about the ring?
ooh, ooh, that's tricky. Color of the horse, ladies and
Because
gentlemen.
it's easy to think it's that color,
Okay,
but then you can get
to be
confused.
to correct to make sure everybody's clear because not everybody will remember the event. So this is in the first movie
Mhm.
when Gandalf goes to see Saruman
Because he doesn't know that Saruman.
is working with
Spoiler!
is working with Sauron.
Yeah,
So he still knows Saruman as Saruman the White because he
yeah.
is Gandalf the Grey. You know, because
Mitch,
wizards have colors.
Mitch votes brown. Clea,
Okay.
do you have a vote? No, Clea says gray. Rocky.
Yeah, I feel like it's just the. I'll just say brown. I think it was just like a plain
I'll
horse.
stick to white. Only
Okay,
because he had that special horse who he whispers to and runs really
that's Shadowfax, and that's not this horse.
fast. Brown!
Brown. So Mitch and I have ring points.
So we'll move that between the two of you there. Okay, so let's talk about Saruman for a moment. Don't you hate the fact that they basically forgot about him in the third movie? Because in the second movie, he never dies.
yes, technically he was like a prisoner
And
in
they
the
shot
tower.
they supposedly shot the scene where he gets stabbed in the back by Grima Wormtongue and
Okay.
he falls to his death.
Hmm.
And that was supposed to be the intro of the third movie.
Okay. I thought that was like when Tom Bombadil appeared.
But Peter Jackson decided that was not the way to start the movie. So he cut it.
Hmm. Yeah.
But the funny thing was, his death was supposed to be the end of the second movie, which they also cut away because they were thinking it would be nicer to have the dramatic ending. Ergo, that led to a more than 10-year rivalry. Well, not rivalry, but um, friction between Peter Jackson and we actually forgot the name. So what is your Ian McKellen? That's wrong.
No.
Him.
So apparently our next trivia question is who played Saruman? Because Toby can't remember.
But they cut out the death because he
Oh.
thought it was more dramatic to end the second movie that way.
I felt the second movie
Christopher Lee. There you go.
Christopher Lee, yes. I felt the second movie though ended weird. Like it
Because
ended
he
at a
changed it.
weird point.
He
Yeah.
wanted to do a did he or did he not die moment for the second movie.
Yeah, because they just show him like scared in his tower.
Yeah. And sorry, the did he or did not die was for the hero,
Hmm.
right? They wanted to focus that as the finale of the second movie,
Yeah.
rather than the defeat of Saruman. So that was a bummer. That was a little bit of trivia that led to a lot of friction between the two. And to my
Interesting.
knowledge, um, it even reached the point that when they were marketing the third movie, Christopher Lee was like, I'm not helping, I'm not showing up, and other than that. So, yeah.
Okay, I have to look that up. Oh wow, Mitch pulled from a Gizmodo article that Christopher Lee was the only member of the movie cast to have met Tolkien personally. Apparently,
Yes.
he ran into him randomly in a pub and fanboyed.
Yes.
Tolkien gave him his blessing to play Gandalf in any future Lord of the Rings movie, but they ended up playing Saruman. But I think it was a good choice because, man, Christopher Lee's the timbre of his voice is epic. The way so you really assume that he is like this high wizard.
Okay, our next question. How many legs does a Nazgul flying mount have?
Mm.
So the
So
Nazgul
yeah,
are the
are the
dark
ring
riders.
rates? Yes. And then by the third movie, well, at least in the not well, actually,
Hey
in the other
Noel.
movies, you see that they're flying around on these
Yes.
dragon-like things.
So how many legs does the Nazgul mount?
I have an answer, but I'll wait for some people in the audience to answer.
So currently the ring is between Mitch and Rocky. In a bid to steal it, I will say two.
Mitch says 4, Clea says 6. I say 2 as well.
And the answer is 4!
Oh, they count the arm things. Oh, Mitch gets the ring.
Ah, Mitch has stolen the ring, and Noel has a phone in question.
What's your phone in question, Noel? Glad to have you back with
While
us.
we're waiting for you to type that in, let's talk about the Nazgul. It's a spoiler, but shall not be defeated by any man, the Witch King. How did you feel about that moment? Did that feel like they added a fun moment, or did that feel like an awesome moment?
Yeah, no, I felt it was awesome. And then like because with this, hey, genre fiction movies have always had a proclivity for strong female protagonists. I mean, we go back to the likes of Ripley in science fiction
Mm.
for Aliens. So I was there for it, for her to be like triumphant, like raw. And so yeah, I love that moment.
Mm. I loved it because it made sense. It was such a good moment, and let's face it, such a good comeback line.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to realize, oh, she defeated it because she's a guy, she's not a guy, but then to say that I am no man, and then beautiful, brilliantly done.
And that's like that's the joy of like movie. That's a
Mhm.
movie moment right there.
And it was something that you really built up to. Given earlier, you could see she wasn't comfortable with what she was handling. Later, she wears the armor, and you could see others wondering if she's really going to do this. And then to have this as the finale of that moment, that
Yeah.
made total sense.
Mitch says the Nazgul are scary, and yeah, they were very terrifying, especially in that first movie. Although why on Hilltop they all like surround the hobbits in a almost ceremonial manner where we're all holding our swords like this, and then we raise them. We take our time because Aragorn has to come in. Rah!
I felt that was because they weren't sure if the Hobbit was their target.
But they see but they don't even see the hobbit. They see the ring.
Mhm.
I mean, that was like the implication. Like they just see the ring, so they're always drawn to it. Poor mortal kings.
So Noel does ask, how do the Urukai know what a menu was?
It's
Because in the movie, there is the line,
Yeah.
there's blank in the
On
menu,
menu.
boys.
Wait, but
There's meat in the menu, boys.
but why not? Just because they're just because they okay because the Urukai, if they are created and spawned with the ability of language, then why not have the knowledge of food?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Urukai are corrupted elves. Wasn't
Um,
that the fiction behind it?
I think yeah, I'm not well versed enough.
That's what I remember, that the Urukai were corrupted and they turned into the Nazgul.
No, the Nazgul
Sorry,
are
the Nazgul, sorry, the elves were corrupted and turned into the Urukai.
yes.
So wouldn't it be then appropriate that they know menus? Because elves, of course, would have menus.
Because all they do is eat.
And they have fantastic houses. And what would you like to have? Lembas? Lembas with
Okay,
spice?
I don't think elves offer each other lembas bread.
Lembas with water?
That's what you give the hobbits on their way out. It's travel food. It's like
So
it's
lembas
like,
is the equivalent of pandesal.
or it's like it's like hey, I have space food. You want to try it because it travels well and all that.
We are going to our next question. But wait, Clea shares, although Eowyn ended her story
In a typical romance.
Well, um, I'm not sure if the movie ended it that way too. But I think for the movie, Peter Jackson just wanted a nice closure in that narrative.
And wasn't it Carl Urban? So like, why not? Okay. That restaurants in Riverdale. Hello. If they make lembas, it's awesome.
Rifford Hill is like, a mall.
It's a mall, a house, a mansion, all these things.
Didn't you see them go to the food court to decide, you have my hammer?
What? It's
Okay.
not a food court.
Our next question. Oh, okay, let's go movie. Because none of us will get it. What is the name of the actor who plays the orc Shagrat in Return of the King?
What the- See, it's questions like that that make me distrust these things.
And we have friends who will answer that with blah, and he was also blah blah.
We're not those people. We're not those people.
Clea shares, I would love to try lambas. I always ask how many I'd be able to eat. So my mental image of lambas
Okay.
has always been um so further down south, Lipa, Batangas area.
Okay.
There's this um snack you get, which is like this really flat bread
Okay.
that's like so it's like I guess baked together, but then it's like white powder in between each one,
Okay.
and then it's slightly airy. So when you bite it, there's pockets of air. So that was always my thought of what lembas is like.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I had like a similar like you imagine it as a firmer bread because it has to be a travel
Mm.
thing. So I
Oh, Clea says lembas is piaya. That's another good example.
I was thinking of parang I don't know why in my head my texture was always sort of like those weird what do you call those lady fingers na matigas? They're
Mm.
not broas, but is it broas? I
There's
remember.
broas if it's the slightly curved one, but if it's just
The straight
the
long
straight one, that's the parang the one they use for the coffee and
Yeah. So I always
the
figured
squatchy
it
thing.
could be like a sandwich with like bread like that,
Mhm.
but then 1 million times awesomer when you bite into it because the way they describe it, it's like I feel refreshed. It's literally like plunk, full HP. After a long day, remove status effects and all that. Okay. Yeah. So we don't.
Noel shares job Sejal.
Did you look that up? Okay. So what's the answer?
The answer is Peter Tate.
All right, Peter.
Good job,
Congratulations.
Peter.
You made it into this episode.
We'll quickly run to a new question, and since Noel is not with us, Noel, you are the Nazgul. Mitch is currently the ring bearer, and the question is, oh my god, this is fun. What is the English translation of the Elvish Hananle?
Potek. Okay, and we will use that as a segue to appreciate that this is one of the first, whatever, creative franchises that developed its own language.
Yes, Tolkien was such a
Nerd.
yes. I was trying to find the
I
right
say
word,
that with love.
but came up with his own language, not just one, right? There's multiple language, and then made sure it was vital and part of the narrative.
And then people ran with it because there was enough of like, because he is a an education a man from an educational background. So it had enough structure that that people were able to like help flesh it out, and then it's a. I know there are people who speak it.
Noel, I'm sorry, there is no Legolas here. There is Galadriel.
I
which
feel
is
like they
Clea.
added Galadriel just so that there's a female character.
There's Gandalf, which is Rocky. There's Mitch Aragorn, currently the ring bearer.
Or you want to call him Strider.
Yeah. There's me, the Hobbit. His hand is hot.
Technically it's Bilbo, but fine, you can make it sound.
And you are the Nazgul.
And then I was like, and also with you.
Okay, so the words "live long and prosper" for Mitch, "well met" for Clea, use in a sentence, please, and also you, Rocky. What do you think? Hanonle.
Open Sesame. I don't know.
Open Sesame.
I don't. I know it's not. I know
I
it's
think Hanonle for me would be goodbye.
not. Okay.
The answer is thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, do you remember any scene where they say that?
No.
I don't either.
I can't even remember what the word was for open friend.
Ano ulit? Ano ulit? That's good. For that, I shall give you the ring.
Oh, okay, okay.
We could like be scoring with the tokens. Okay, next question, real one. Ooh, 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 ooh. Who speaks the first words in the 2000?
Ooh, that's
Oh, that's
hard.
an interesting.
That's a
Do
hard
you
question.
remember the Two Towers movie? Who was the first one to speak?
The very, very, very beginning of it.
I think it's Gollum. Wasn't it a flashback to Gollum's story?
I don't know.
Wasn't that the
But
intro?
isn't that in the first movie?
No, the first movie started with the rings as the intro.
No, but they also discussed Gollum in that opening. Kasi nga they recap the Hobbit. in that
Ah!
opening.
Oh no, did I give a wrong answer? Mitch thinks it was Aragorn who gives the first words. Noel thinks it's Gandalf.
I think, and I don't know if I have the names right, but I think it's Mary.
About breakfast or something.
Yeah. It's Mary or Pip. But that's my feeling. It's Mary or Pip.
Gollum flashback was in the third scene. Now we're all confused. Clea, who do you think was the first one to speak? You haven't entered your answer. Mitch, you have to choose. Aragorn
Or Kate
or Kate
Blanchett.
Blanchett.
Well, since only Aragorn is a character in the movie, you get Aragorn.
Just so you guys know, if we were playing Trivial Pursuit, so there are these tokens. So, for example, since Clea had answered correctly, the token slips.
But it has to it will match the category you answered. And your goal is to answer
One
one
of
of
each
each
color.
category successfully.
And then there's another one, for example, so it just pops in there. Oh, look at that! There's so much.
It's actually a very functional re-implementation of Trivial Pursuit. I'll give it that.
Okay, so
We have our
Clea
answer?
chooses Elrond, and Mitch chooses Galadriel. Your answer was?
Mary.
Yeah, Mary. Gandalf.
Oh, it's Gandalf.
How annoying! None of us got it.
No, Noel said Gandalf.
Noel said Gandalf. Yay, Noel, you get the ring!
Sorry, you're a ring.
Okay, let's talk about Gandalf. Perfect casting.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing casting. Love that little detail of the pipe fitting into the staff,
Oh, yes.
and never saw it in the movie. So when I saw that later on pictures online, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. How many of you who smoke tried blowing
Smoke ring.
ships?
Oh, shit.
It was impossible, but I know I tried.
And just as the little things like that, like I feel like we're never gonna run out of things about the production of that movie to
Let-
celebrate.
Let's talk about that illusion of making hobbits
Short,
different
small.
from people.
My God, good job, forced
The
perspective.
use of forced perspective to capture those images. The use of body doubles for the scenes wherein the hobbits wouldn't be facing the camera. Um, that was just incredible, incredibly smart, incredibly
And it wasn't just
technical.
it wasn't just simply special visual effects. It wasn't just I'll make them smaller because we've seen old movies like that
Yeah.
where shorter characters are visually jarring
Yes.
because they have the proportions of a taller person, but then they just got shrunk tinier, which didn't quite work out. Here they used kids, they had people on their knees,
They
all
they
these
had
things.
shoes that looked like feet to give the impression that they were barefoot the entire time. They made sure that the clothes, the wigs, the hair were a certain looseness so that it helps give that impression of height difference. And then it gets super smart when it becomes scenes where you think they're sitting together,
Hmm.
but they're actually far apart.
Because again, it's the forced perspective thing, which on a side note, if you watch theme park videos, they will never stop yapping about forced perspective because it is in very much effect in places like Disneyland, so that things look like they're in scale, but they're really not. Um, about the production as a whole, though, The Lord of the Rings was another one of those amazing, like when they first announced the project, and not only were they just making the first movie, but they were filming the whole darn thing. That they filmed it straight
Yes.
for continuity, for
They had
cohesion,
they
and
had the
whatnot.
trilogy in mind already.
Which was like unheard of at the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
That no Hollywood studio would guarantee a trilogy without testing any of the movies. And then especially something as heavy on visual effects and all these things. I mean, like the post production work was crazy. So it every time I think about all the different pieces that had to come together for the Lord of the Rings to happen, it continues to blow my mind. Like I can't believe that this is the thing that happened.
Noel, since you don't want to be the Nazgul, I guess you're the Hobbit.
What the hell?
I'm not saying anything, but I am the Nazgul. Um, Mitch remembers Gandalf because of You Shall Not Pass.
Which is iconic. It's another. Okay, it was a strong line in the book. It's an iconic movie moment.
I found Fly You Fools more iconic than You Shall Not Pass.
Oh, okay. Stupid, random story. In my junior year in high school,
Mm-hmm.
we all had to write one act plays,
Mm-hmm.
and then was this? But I think we did one act. We also did one act. Sorry, based off of Hamlet,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was a there was this one stupid. It wasn't my group. It was another group who did it, and then they threw one character, and then one of the wine shots, "Fly, Fanny, fly!" And it always intermingles with my memory of "Fly, you fools!" And such
Noel
good thing.
shares that initially it was only approved for 2 films before New Line Cinema. I did not
Interesting.
know that.
Interesting.
Also shares that the flashback of Gandalf dying on 2000.
Ah, yeah, that's true. That it was that how he survived. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
All right, new question. What liquid did Sauron mix with molten gold to forge the One Ring?
Holy crap! Who know? I don't know that.
What
That's a
liquid
book thing.
did Sauron mix with the molten gold to forge the One Ring? I would say the blood of elves,
Okay.
only because it sounds cool.
Okay. Up. So, other than the rhyme of the ring, I see Clea citing Galadriel's lines, which in itself was like something that people kept memorizing. And it's such a game. It's such a gay piece of writing that you will have a queen. Okay. Look, Clea says, "Love juice." Ooh dear.
It says wine.
His blood.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm in the Sauron blood camp.
Before we jump to that, did you find the Galadriel Queen moment scary?
Yes, but it's meant to be.
Me, after Bilbo, nothing was scary. Nothing
The
was
Bilbo
scarier
moment.
than Bilbo. That moment was like, fuck Sauron, the hell with all the Nazgul. I don't want that hobbit near me.
Because that was sobrang. Because it was essentially a jump scare.
Yeah,
It was a
but
sudden
it
moment.
was,
The morphing was so fluid.
and it was such a perfect way to do it.
Yes.
It wasn't a jump scare that you didn't expect. You knew something was gonna happen. You just didn't think it would be that. So
Yeah, Dark Galadriel was freaky. She was scarier in The Hobbit. Well, yes, Galadriel is drama and intensity, so that's fine.
all right, the answer is his blood.
Yay!
Noel, you keep the ring.
But I'm vying for it now, so like I'll stand next to you.
What is the plural form of the word urukai used by Legolas?
What the heck? Is it a movie question?
I don't know. There's a symbol. I'm not sure what the symbols are. What is the plural form of the word urukai used by Legolas?
So we now have to try to think about freaking Orlando Bloom and what the hell
I'd
did
say
he say?
urukan. I think that's it, here in the Philippines.
I'll just add S, Urukais. I don't know.
Mitch says Mary urukai.
Urukai alay, okay. Clea cites what everybody knows, that Galadriel is a drag queen. Oh my god, totally yes. Totally yes. Okay. It's Carlo.
Hello.
Hey Carlo.
You know what? I realize now. I'm surprised that no local queen has made Galadriel a drag name.
Okay.
Galadriel
We
or
should
something.
have a whole separate discussion on local drag names versus Western drag
But we
names.
need guests for that.
Yeah, but it's a very different
It's alright for
practice.
being late. We are still ongoing. And the question was, what was the plural form of the word Urukai used by
And I'm
Legolas?
annoyed because it's specifically Legolas.
None of us have given what seems to be honest answers, minus Orokan.
Hey, I said Urukais with an S. I'm not kidding.
Uruks.
Uruks.
They were Uruks.
Mitch just like in the second week. Oh, Mitch just chimed in with
We're
Uruks.
taking the Hobbit's life in the.
Okay, okay. Sorokai. Oh my god. S sa umpusa. Alright.
Okay. How many fellowship boats go further downstream than Lake Nen Hithoen? Because there were a number of boats at first, but then some don't move on while the others move forward,
Oh
right?
god, that's
Right?
a blink and you'll miss it moment. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
When
how
they,
many fellowship boats go further? I say one.
I'll say 3. I'm just like giving a number. I'm just
I'm
guessing.
thinking the others stopped, and then Sam and Frodo kept going.
Noel says 1. I'll just stick. I'm just like randomly saying 3, which is like 33. That's a lot of boats.
The answer is one. Sorry, Noel. The Dark Rider and the bearded old man are now sharing the room.
No, but Noel's answered 1.
Oh, Noel also answered one, so the three of us are sharing the room. Ooh.
I didn't answer 1. So
You
yeah.
didn't? I
No,
thought
I
you said
said
one.
3.
Oh, you said three. Okay. So there you go.
Okay.
Let's talk about the music.
Yes.
Perfect music.
I actually had like the soundtrack for the Two Towers, like,
I
and
had
it was
the
like
soundtrack as
with
well.
that leather bound cover thing. It's like, oh my god.
Okay, so to talk about the music, we first have to talk about the themes. So
Oh,
the soundtrack score, amazing. The leitmotifs for each character was so distinct, but they still all went together.
yeah. There's like Shire
So
music.
cohesive.
There's Bilbo, and then Bilbo going away, then coming back, and then there's like the hint of the Shire music and all that.
The build up for the war moments, the tense moments, so well done.
And then the almost painful tension of the ring because it was
Yes,
always
the
a violin.
violin or cello, such a seductive sound to use. So well done.
It's like alarm bells in your head, like you know it's dangerous. Okay.
But all those surprisingly still had to fight for a place in terms of musicality with the characters singing.
Again, I did say
I did not
Tolkien has this thing.
I did not expect to enjoy the songs when the characters would sing.
Yeah.
I did not expect to nearly cry when was it Pippin singing during the War with the Ents.
Mm.
I was not expecting to like Gollum singing about fish.
Noel says loved Aragon singing in the third movie, Measure the Game hot for him.
Mhm.
Hey, music has that power, you know.
But
Musicians are hot.
surprisingly, I did not like the soundtrack songs, except for the ones by Ennio.
The scoring is great, but yeah, there's like weird stuff on the soundtracks. Like I just listen to the scores. I just listen to the themes. That was my thing.
It was almost like the soundtrack guest artists felt like they were invading the
And
feel
I
of
mean
the
like,
movie.
and there's that swell of dun, 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 dun. Oh my god, when that music swells, it's like the fellowship,
The
hooray!
feeling of hope,
Yeah,
feeling
yeah.
of terror, and then the twist, the trombones and the horns and the bass when the enemy comes closer, and then the shift back to the high notes and
Gandalf leading the charge with the riders of Rohan. Yay! Yay! All these lovely things.
Clea loved Into the West by Annie. Okay. I didn't. That's the weird thing. Annie Lennox, I love her, but I didn't like her song. I felt it was invasive. I felt I don't
I
know.
guess because and I get why, but it just felt weird to have like this contemporary music as part of the soundtrack.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think the only reason why Enya worked for me was because you don't really think of Enya as a person. You think no, I mean when you hear the music,
Enya's not a person.
when you hear Enya's music, it's the music.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas when you hear Annie Lennox, it's an Annie Lennox song.
Yes. Okay, I
So
get that.
so I kind of could
Enya has an
separate.
experience.
Yeah, I could separate Enya's music from Enya. Whereas for the others, I felt okay. So we're hearing them.
It's the equivalent of like when you have the guest pop artist sing the theme song of a Disney movie
Yes.
and they're part of the soundtrack album.
Yes. And
They're also like,
and there has only been one Disney movie where the guest version was better.
which are you citing?
We will not talk about that tonight.
Are you gonna cite 98 Degrees?
Let's move forward.
You're not saying yes or no.
What
Is this true to your
kingdom,
heart?
what kingdom of men does Aragorn say would come to Theoden's aid at Helm's Deep?
Sorry, again.
What kingdom of men does Aragorn say would come to Theoden's aid at Helm's Deep?
Oh, okay.
Is
Okay.
this Rohan? I think there's others.
No, okay. I already like spoilers, whatever. Give the answer because he's the king of Rohan. It's Aragorn talking to the king of Rohan.
Yeah.
So
I know.
you can't say Rohan.
Sana they just got
Christina Aguilera. Cleus as Gondor.
Hmm.
Mitch's like third kingdom of men? Question mark. Any other answers?
It's Gondor.
Yeah. Because Aragorn is like you can only speak for Gondor. You didn't
So-
let me answer, but I was gonna
She
say
already
Gondor.
knew the answer. So what is it with fantasy and white trees?
White power.
The white tree in Lord of the Rings, the white tree in Game of Thrones, the white tree in The Magicians.
Because it's so it's a ghostly like appearance to it. I mean, I think it because it's just visually striking, and it's something that people have seen that there are these stark white trees amongst everything else. It's even in like in our Tang Garden set, the expansion. The white
the
tree
ghost
again.
tree.
The ghost tree is a white tree. So yeah. Okay. Side note, we can talk about
Sorry, I just saw a movie trivia question. Like, yeah, right. Any of us will answer this.
okay, then there's the funny like the Christmas tradition that for some
Okay.
people their tradition is watching the Lord of the Rings. And it started I feel like if we were to track it back, it started as before the next movie comes out, people were like, let's recap. So like before watching the Two Towers, we should probably watch the Fellowship of the Ring again.
And who remembers watching them on separate VCDs?
Oh my god, yes, there's this one, this two problems. It's like
And then when the collections came out, DVD collection. Oh, with extras. Oh, that's what we didn't pull out.
do we have? Oh, we have DVDs,
We
but
have
then not.
no, yeah.
We have a box set. I can't remember. Oh yeah, you do.
Mhm.
Noel's like we talked about this earlier. Noel, you mentioned Harry Potter as Christmas. We were saying that the Lord of the Rings was actually the first to come out during Christmas. The movies all debuted in December, and so it has that same vibe. Ah, yeah, I forgot you had these. And these are these director's cuts though? They're special extended DVD, but are they director's
Yes,
cuts?
because there were all those versions. I don't think these were the director's cuts.
Okay.
Or I think these were the director's cuts, but not the special extended edition.
Yeah. So
I don't know
I
anymore.
have not seen the super long. I've never watched the super long versions, the ones with all the extra stuff in. Physical media, ladies and gentlemen.
Opens like that, and then it further opens like that.
Pretty.
And then that still further opens like that. And you can pull it out.
There's a little booklet, and then it's there's like a little map thing, and then little guides and all that. So cool. Okay.
Yeah, there. Special extended edition. There you go.
So I have not watched any of these. Like I only remember the main theatrical, and then I think the DVDs I've watched have only been the classic theatrical release. I have not watched the super extended. We should probably do that one time. But then was it funnily for us like uh the Lord of the Rings at Christmas was more of a joke in our family in the sense that right because our tradition is that we would open Christmas presents on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
after the big dinner with family, then we would open the Christmas gifts we have given one another. And then that's the point when someone is always going to make some joke about needing to go to the bathroom.
Mhm.
Or, in our case, we started saying, I said, yeah, let's watch a movie before we open presents. And then what are we going to watch? Sharper, let's watch The Lord of the Rings. Like, oh my god. Let's watch The Lord of the Rings trilogy.
But at the same time, we do have friends who do
Who do
fun.
watch it every Christmas.
They will fund the entire thing. They will like start a few days before because it's gonna take more than a single day to go through the entire thing.
And then we're talking about the full director's cut, special extended,
Yes.
whatever edition, the longest possible versions of this.
Yes.
And and I respect this, and everybody has their little traditions and hobbies, and so I feel like, okay. Then I'm setting it down this year. We have to take not necessarily Christmas, but we have to find time and rewatch these things
Mhm.
because they're amazing and they're still gonna hold up. Still gonna hold up.
Noel earlier asked, "What was your favorite scene?" His was Eowyn's reveal
As
as
the
a
woman,
woman.
yeah, I am no man. See, it's such a powerful scene. It's such a powerful scene. Um, what's your favorite scene? Oh, that's a good question, though. That's a good question. What's your favorite scene? Sorry, Tom Bombadil is not in the movie, so he's not your favorite scene.
What would be my
I'm not gonna
favorite
say. I'm
scene?
gonna wait for Toby. I'm gonna wait for Toby. And then yes, Ethan, we still have physical media. Mitch says Helm's Deep. Okay, that's cool. But what part of Helm's Deep? Yung na-overcome na sila. Oh, when they break through. Okay, okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Okay, I'm sorry. Before I go to my favorite scene, the scene I hate the most.
What? Okay, is the surfboarding Legolas?
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I hated the Olympic torch Urukai. That was a scene I did not need to see. Because it literally was modern moment and
Kuna lang you hear Gloria Estefan singing in the background. Dun, 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 dun,
with chariots
dun.
of fire in the
Yeah,
background.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that was frustrating for me that moment because it was such a brilliant combat scene na, and then we have that moment happen.
Oh my god, Helm's Deep is one of the best
But it was so well
big
done that fight.
battle sequences
That
I've
fight was
ever
so well
seen
done.
for a fantasy movie. It's like Noah hates every scene with Gollum. But but that's by design. I mean, like Gollum is really made to make you feel uncomfortable because now he is someone whose life is lost to corruption. So it's one of those. If you hate this character, it works. Okay, so do you have a favorite scene?
Hmm. It would probably also be Aeon
Mm.
because it just really was such a striking moment, and you can't help but cheer in that moment. But
You have a runner-up.
yeah, my runner-up is the well.
The Well in the Mines of Moria.
Yeah,
When they accidentally knock a skeleton in.
and it's like skeleton with chain, and then all these banging sounds, and then it's such a comedy moment, and then you hear the drum,
Mm.
and
Mm.
oh my god, that was such a good build-up.
Okay. Okay. I'll always be a sucker for the Ents marching to war. I
Mm.
mean, like I get chills when I think I get chills when Treebird, in his anger will be like the Ents, will march to war. It just does that. I don't know why. And it's probably because I super remember that we were at the premiere
Mhm.
and then we saw that moment. And like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, we're gonna get Ents, we're gonna get the Ents, and then I just got super
And then that
excited.
small ant again is burning and gets to the river in time before it dies. Um,
Okay, runner up for Noel was Arwen seeing the future. Okay. Ethan says favorite scene when Gandalf calmly asked Frodo if he put his name in the goblet of fire. Well done, Ethan. Well done. Okay. And then Mitch found the precise elf that she was talking about, namatay si Haldir of Lorien. Okay, yeah, yeah. The elf died, that elf lieutenant that had, because the elves had dispatched help
mhm.
to Helm's Deep and then overwhelmed. Okay, okay, cool, cool stuff. Question then, Toby.
Who in the cast does Sean Austin say he worked so closely with that he became more like a brother than a fellow actor?
Sean Astin, to be, for those who don't remember, played Samwise Gamgee. Sam.
Sadly, more people will now call him the Stranger Things guy.
Is that really, hey, I still remember him as Rudy, which was not a great movie about sports. And then, of course, Goonies.
I remember him as the student who has to strip after running back to sneak into campus through the sewers because terrorists have taken over the school.
Oh, is this a. Oh my god, what's this movie? I know this, I know this. I've seen this. What's this movie? Well, Mitch is like 51st Dates. Alright, so school ties? No, not school ties. Something school. What was it?
I might say the wrong name, so I'm looking it up.
Okay, so Mitch asked if it's Faramir. Noel says Elijah Wood. Clea says Andy Serkis.
Toy Soldiers.
Toy Soldiers. Yes.
The answer was
We should watch that again.
Elijah Wood.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
That's like
Of course.
that's
That
that's fair.
So we talked about our favorite scenes. We talked about the music. We talked about the casting. We talked about the movies.
Scale, the production.
We talked about the movies. We talked about the books. Did you ever see the cartoon?
No, surprisingly, I've not seen the cartoon. I've only seen screenshots.
I've seen the cartoon. I can't remember the name of that really popular group that used to make cartoons that made it.
Is it like the all
parang
dogs go to heaven?
The rotoscope cartoon. Okay, here. Excuse me. Ralph Bakshi. So yeah,
Okay, okay. Rankin Bass.
and the Rankin
Exactly.
Bass. Yeah. So I remember those cartoons. Um,
Because they're the high fantasy dark cartoons.
Yeah,
I can't get past the Black Cauldron.
they were intense. They were quite tough.
Side note, have you seen the Black Cauldron?
Yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind seeing it again if you haven't seen it.
Okay. No, I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've read the books.
Surprise!
It's always there. I've read the book.
What many people don't realize was that there were stage adaptations
Mm.
of all the movies. This was back in the 2000s. Of course, there were video games. There were radio play versions as well. So yeah, it's quite still a living franchise.
Okay.
They also produced The Last Unicorn.
Yes. Oh God, that's a good but depressing movie. Okay. So in terms of like lasting legacy, because like okay, so after like the main Lord of the Rings thing, I thought we were done, and then we got the Hobbit movies, and the Hobbit movies,
Was not a trilogy.
well,
But
not a trilogy of
The book
books,
was not a trilogy.
but it was a trilogy of movies.
How do you feel about it?
It felt very weird. As much as I like Martin Freeman, I think but he's the one who played. He played. It was a Bilbo's perspective, younger Bilbo. Um, I
And we know him from Doctor Who.
more Sherlock.
Sherlock.
Okay, but yeah, and then but I think he had a Doctor Who episode also.
Mhm.
But it just felt like so much. It like like if this were a drag race thing or a Project Runway thing, I think he needed to edit down.
Okay, so I struggled to enjoy the Hobbit movies. First, the tone was very strange for me.
Okay, because you're thinking of the book.
Not just the
Okay.
movie did not feel consistent in terms of tone.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Like you'll have this almost quirky comedy moment with the dwarves, and then let's get serious with the dragon, and then let's go funny again with the drunken dwarf, and then let's get serious because betrayal. And so that I hated that. I hate when media is not consistent with what they want to do.
I felt it was super OA to make it 3 movies.
That's the second. It was super stretching it, and in order to stretch it, they had to add a romance. They had to add a this and that. And then the third, may itsura na kayong establish for the dwarves. Bakit kailangan may gwapong dwarf? I mean, he did not look like a dwarf at all.
Yeah, the proportions were weird. They look just like
And
people slightly off camera. Diba? Diba?
and it um if I remember correctly, that angle was completely not in the books.
Yeah.
So it completely now contradicts the landmark event of Legolas and Gimli being the first dwarf and elf to become friends.
Yes, and kind of working, and given the years
Mm.
of animosity between their races.
So, mwah, that was annoying.
Okay, but then Clea says like Hobbit gives the beauty and sass of Kurandul. Lee Pace as a fabulously vain elf queen of Mirkwood was such a gift, both sexy and bitchy.
Admittedly, Lee Pace, brilliant, brilliant appearance, brilliant, beautifully crafted, but
I thought the character was a little flat.
yeah, and then that mount defied physics in the sense of so I don't think it can turn its head without killing him, right?
Yeah, there are things like that. Okay, okay. Um,
It was almost like the Hobbit, the Hobbit trilogy was if someone wanted to make a fan film after getting inspired by Lord of the Rings,
mm.
and
And
let's
it was
try to
really
make it bigger.
and make it more action. So make it because I think what bothers me is that it was originally a children's story told from the perspective of Bilbo as a memoir. Um, and then the first three movies, The Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King,
Hmm.
were amazing because they were such brilliant efforts to like bring the original books to life.
Hmm.
Then suddenly, The Hobbit, while it did incorporate a lot of like other events that happened around this period, um, yeah, it just felt like it ignored the tone of that original book.
Yeah,
So it didn't feel like a an adaptation that really wanted to bring it to life.
and
But that's okay, kinda, in the
and I
sense
felt
that
it could have bridged it still. Like for
yeah,
example, they could have just made this a serious movie, and then in the end show Bilbo penning it as a children's story.
mm-mm.
So you kind of get okay, so it was serious
That would have been
events,
cool.
and then we know it as a children's story, but it was actually serious events.
Like it would have been, which I know would be very tonally weird, but then like I wouldn't have minded if it had interludes of like we hear Bilbo what he wrote, and then it's all light and whimsical and
And
something,
then it
and
will,
then depicted as
yeah.
dangerous.
So it could have been almost like never ending story. Wherein the scene opens with Bilbo old telling the story to a bunch of younger hobbits, and then they're all laughing and then we cut to what really happened.
Yeah, that could
And
work.
it would have at least it would have felt consistent. And yeah, that's what I feel. So in many ways, the Hobbit trilogy was like the Christmas specials of Star Wars.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay.
Now, supposedly there is an upcoming new um, production, right?
I'm not sure anymore. Like I mean after The Hobbit I felt like was this I'm pretty done. I was like, pretty much done with the franchise. And then like I didn't really think we needed more, but that's what happened.
Well, there is the Adventures of Tom Bombadil that they can still adapt. It's a standalone book from 1962.
We could make a drinking game out of Toby bringing up Tom Bombadil. I did not realize Toby is this Tom
No, I'm
Bombadil
not that big
fanboy.
a Tom Bombadil fan. But, he was the one character who resisted the ring. If I remember, like, I think he like held the ring and like just gave it back na parang dead na, I don't care. I save you from the roots of the tree. Parang ganong moment. And, you have Galadriel, you have all of them dying. And then he's like, let's go drink, sing song, la la la. And that's just such an amazing character. And supposedly, in the name I keep saying wrong, Silmar,
Silmarillion.
they reveal he was one of the I forgot what it's called, Athars or something.
I don't know.
He's like one of the godlike beings, pala,
Mm-mm.
which Gandalf also was supposedly, and that's why he was so. Oh, he's at it again. That Sauron guy. So he's like the gentry.
It's super adorable. You fanboying over this particular character from the book. I did not. We have never had a Tom Bombadil discussion. It's very adorable. Okay, okay.
Aren't they doing a Netflix prequel?
I don't know.
I think Netflix is like trying to do prequels or sequels of
Oh my god!
everything.
So yeah, I just shared this morning that apparently they purchased the rights to the entire Roald Dahl library,
Mhm.
and they're trying to go to make some Roald Dahl mini universe. I mean, it's getting kind of nuts. Like, and I get it because in order for Netflix to remain competitive with the rise of so many rival streaming services run by the content producers where they would normally purchase content
Mhm.
from, then the race has been on for many years to create their own content so that they can stand on their own feet versus the likes of Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, whatever, Apple TV. I mean, like all these things are like competing for that space. So yeah, they seem eager to like make things about everything. Hence the Millerverse
Mhm. Mhm.
deal. So I don't know about a Lord of the Rings thing. And I think that I'm was this in terms of like Lord of the Rings movies. I feel that I must rewatch. It's still going to be this core trilogy. Like I will not feel bad if I never watch the Hobbit movies again.
Mhm.
Even if it's super amusing to have like Benedict
Here we
Cumberbatch
go.
making dragon faces.
So it was 2017 that Amazon acquired the global rights for a Lord of the Rings multi-season television series set before The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings.
Based on Tolkien's descriptions of events of the Second Age of Middle Earth.
I would love to see this as a teen series, so they're all teenagers. And you have Sauron, the broody
No.
kid, and then you have Tom Bombadil.
Shot! Apparently we've gone back to the Tom Bombadil fan club.
And then you have this little young girl, and Tom Bombadil is like, "What's your name?" It's like Galadriel. Oh, make you pretty. It's like wicked for Tolkien stuff.
Okay. Oh my god.
And then they'll do modern songs. So there's gonna be put a ring on it, right? And all that. I don't want no dwarves. Dwarves is another thing.
Bakit naging no scrubs yung first song mo?
Kasi modern interpretations.
Take note, we have not watched the new Cinderella. Okay, so
I'm getting sweaty.
I guess on the whole, like, was this okay? It's funny to bring this up now because was this the Wheel of Time TV adaptation
Mayar Majar.
where is just around the corner.
Mhm.
And The Wheel of Time is another book series that I have not read yet.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be and then like we watched the first trailer and then like it looks interesting, but I'm not particularly excited about
And
anything yet.
and we have had friends who love the books
Super love the
and
book.
have told us you will get bored. The books are that dense, they're that wordy.
But the stories
they will be fun and
yeah.
all, but you will get bored because you'll go through so much just to read it.
Yeah. So I'm so on the one hand I'm kinda excited in the sense that I'm going into a big, genre franchise
Mhm.
thing and not have advanced knowledge.
Mhm.
And then maybe I can appreciate it on a different way.
Mhm.
Because yeah, because they're talking about it like earlier in the episode. When we first watched Fellowship of the Ring, I hadn't read the books yet. It was a different kind of magic. And
Mhm.
then catching up with the books, it was just enriched everything. So I'm kinda excited in that sense. But then but I don't know if it's going to be enough to get me to read it. Because I tried reading the first book in Wheel of Time. And then I'm like, are you gonna describe the speck of dust that's floating past my eye? Because it felt like the level of detail was kind of crazy.
So looking at the TV series, right? Um, the first 8 episodes are expected to premiere
next year.
next year in September. A second season was formally ordered in November 2019. Um, there's a list of people who have been cast.
They don't particularly look familiar by
I'm
name.
I'm happy I don't recognize the names. I always prefer shows where I can't tell who's in them
Mm,
because
yeah,
it
because
really
then you don't get distracted by the
yes, it
actor.
really allows you to embrace the role and try to see it. Which is why whenever people are like, oh, the next Bond should be ganyan or the next Doctor Who should be ganyan, I hate it because I know the actor. It'll conflict
Yeah,
with what I know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's things like we only recently watched American Crime Story, the O.J. Simpson one, and seeing freaking John Travolta as Shapiro was so distracting because I just see John Travolta in really weird makeup. So, so yeah, I get that the appeal of the non-famous actor playing stuff. Okay.
Hmm.
Clea's particular hopes for the series. I don't know these specific points, but then I hope that they're cool. Noel says you will get confused because you have to go back and forth some map. I guess this is for Wheel of Time. Yeah, that sounds like a thing. Sounds like a thing.
Yeah, but I still always think, I survived Cloud Atlas. So that was like multiple story arcs across time, which actually used the same characters. No, the same
Same actors.
actors in different characters, but their actors were still interconnected, just not the same people. So yeah.
I always go back to like I freaking read Dune. I should be able to handle anything. But then like okay, Wheel of Time licked me. Like I didn't have maybe I had the wrong mindset. But again, fantasy is not my strong point. Fantasy is not like if I between a science fiction book and a fantasy book, I'm more likely to read the science fiction book.
Mhm.
I'm more likely to read contemporary fantasy because I love the Dresden books. But something about high fantasy stuff can't quite super get into it. So even like when I tried to read Brandon Sanderson, which is he's okay, but then it's still not like it's not my favorite thing in the world.
Mhm.
Like I only read the first three books of the Mistborn series, and then like it was cool, but then I don't think it doesn't change. Like I think I still like the original Shannara trilogy more for some reason. So Elf Stones are awesome.
I still prefer easy reading. The moment I can't pronounce names, I struggle to remember them.
Hmm.
So for many fantasy and sci-fi, that does happen. Um, but then if the names are unique enough, so like you have Clive Barker's Piopa, who was a shape-shifting assassin, or you have Tom Bombadil, such an amazing name, then I find myself remembering it so well.
He's so cute. Why? Why is my life partner a Tom Badil fanboy?
Because everyone hates him.
He is a Deus Ex character kasi he's like, wow.
Wait. He's a Deus Ex character who doesn't bother doing it. And it's like, oh, the ring. I could have destroyed it, but no, keep going. I know what's coming, but I'll let it happen. I know.
Noelle is sad that they stopped Shannara and it's like, okay, I don't like that adaptation. I don't. I really don't. I get why they did that. I get why they went in that direction, but I don't like that Shannara
Mhm.
adaptation. Okay.
And then Clea mentions, did you see the Russian Lord of the Rings? Tom Bombadil. No, I shall try looking that up now.
Oh boy, you're feeding Toby's Tom Bombadil fanboyness. Should I be concerned?
Um,
What do you got? What do you got?
okay, I found a YouTube video.
Russian Tom Bombadil is the name of the YouTube video.
Okay, that kind of looks like what I would expect of a Tom Bombadil.
Oh my god, what is this chroma? A moment. Okay. So I think we're gonna look this up after.
The name of the play was Kiranitelli, a Soviet television play miniseries based on the Fellowship of the Ring, 1991. It was wow. Okay, that's pretty awesome.
It is a product of its time.
And yes, it has humble. Bright blue jacket, boots are yellow. Yeah.
You even remember the description? I'm very concerned.
No, no, it's just described there. See,
Okay, okay.
little Tom Bombadil. No one has caught him yet. He's the master. His songs are stronger songs, and his feet are faster.
Yeah, the Tom Bombadil chapters are not my favorite in Lord of the Rings. But I was like, what the hell is this guy? And this is me coming from trying to understand why everybody likes this fantasy series perspective. So I was a younger reader then. And the same thing when I first read Wheel of Time. I know I have to try again with a fresh perspective. Only because um I know I was snarky in my younger years, and it was even things like you know Star Trek is superior to Star Wars and stuff like that. And like now I'm just like I enjoy many things. So I enjoy all these
So
things. Okay.
there. So in the movie,
Wow, we brought up an IMDb page. Okay.
Tom Bombadil was a character who never made it into the movie. He originally appears early on, saves Frodo and Sam when they are trapped by an evil willow tree.
A sentient willow
Yeah.
tree.
So Peter Jackson contemplated on having Bombadil incorporated in a cameo scene where the hobbits are walking through the forest and a man with a feathered cap darts through the trees.
Okay.
Then they hear Tom singing and begin running through the forest.
Good night, Noel.
But production ran out of time, so they weren't able to do that.
Okay.
A small reference is made in the extended edition, where Treebeard saves them. Basically, Treebeard takes the role. So yeah. Oh well. I guess that pretty much covers everything we can about Lord of the Rings. We're excited for the upcoming series. Um, excited only because we don't know what to expect, and the casting looks vague enough that we can embrace it.
And then we should do a rewatch of the trilogy. And I don't know if
However,
will we make it an event? Not a Baduy Pride event. Like, I don't know, over Zoom or
however,
something.
given that it's that age, will it feel like Lord of the Rings?
It
When
really
you,
depends on treatment.
I mean,
feel.
will the lords be there? Will the rings even take part in the story?
I don't.
You get what I
I
mean?
don't know the fiction.
It's sort of like how people sometimes say a lot of the Star Wars extended stuff doesn't feel like Star Wars because it's not the main cast. But then we know now it's Star Wars because it still encompasses the entire war
So I
and the
will.
minor stories.
I will always point out the funny thing about the Lord of the Rings. So the central thing at the beginning is always talk about, oh my God, these rings of power and
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. We don't see them use them.
Hmm.
We don't see them use them in the series and in the core trilogy. So I feel like that is not what defines
Hmm.
the Lord of the Rings as an entertainment experience. It's the tone of the story. It's the grandeur. So in terms of like what I would expect from a TV series, I don't necessarily care about the details. I don't know the details. I
Hmm.
don't know this period. But if you get that same feeling out of me, if the music swells in that direction, if you have characters as uniquely
So
crafted,
we're looking at the TV series hopefully being as epic and as um,
I'm aiming for
moving.
feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not looking at it like being some sort of CW translation of the brand. So it becomes like the musical adventures of Tom
And I
Bombadil.
know it's like its own thing. Like it's a different production group and all that. But I think that for them to be successful, they have to feel like they're in the same universe.
That's true.
They have to get that same atmosphere. If they go a completely different direction and in no way relate to these movies, then I think it'll
Then they
hurt
will
them.
fall into the same trap that Marvel has with many of the spin-off stuff.
Yes,
So
it's
you,
like Agents of Shield,
yeah, or
Cloak and
just
Dagger,
yes,
and
yes, yes, Runways.
a lot of the Hulu
So
shows.
so you kind of got used to what you saw with the cinematic universe. So when you see the TV series, they're not bad per se,
Except in humans.
but you were expecting it to be closer to something.
In humans, terrible.
Similarly, Doctor Who had its own spin-off class, and that was a struggle to enjoy.
Yes, that was weird. I kind of like. I knew what they were sort of going for, but it didn't
Whereas
work.
Torchwood still
Oh,
had a different feel, but hit that Doctor Who note.
Yes, and it really felt like ooh, Doctor Who for adults. It was really like ooh, after the watershed period. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cleo wants to see an uncorrupted Sauron. Ooh, before he becomes all scary. Okay, then you're gonna be Tom Bombadil again.
The musical adventures of Tom Bombadil. And you have Sauron, the falsetto who's shy.
So
But
Toby's not gonna get a big writing deal for this adaptation anytime soon. Clearly.
you know the Eagles are gonna be like there. La 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 la. I think that's all the time we have for this episode. Obviously, the One Ring is corrupting us, but not as strong as the corruption of Tom Bombadil. But we had a lot of fun in this episode, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
For questions or suggestions for future episodes, please fill up the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. You can follow us on Twitter, also be no shade, RG Sunico.
You can also check out our blog, baduypride.com, for the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and let us know, what do you think about Lord of the Rings? Do you remember watching? Did you get to catch the movies as they premiered in the theaters? And what was that experience like? Or just talk about books.
And have you ever seen the Leonard Nimoy song inspired by Lord of the Rings?
Oh my god! And then I'm sorry, we didn't get to talk about in this episode. Was this the tourism side of the Lord of the Rings? And you can go to New Zealand.
It's okay, we haven't gone there, and I heard they're having trouble now maintaining it.
Oh, that's so sad. But
Yeah,
I'm glad like
I-
we have super fan friends who gone.
yeah, but I recall seeing like photos where they're like, it's no longer being done again.
Mm. Okay.
I think the Hobbit movies kind of pushed things away from
Oh,
yeah.
something to look into. Okay. And be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Thanks for joining us tonight, everyone.